I don't know how much time I have left, but I'm typing this on my phone, which is miraculously still charged. I'm writing before it comes back for me. It is my car, my Tesla Model 3, and it wants to kill me. Just a few minutes ago, I was in my garage trying to unplug it from the charger. That's when a message appeared on the central screen that shouldn't have been there. Not a system warning, not an error, just one word, blinking brightly in white. Selection complete. Before I could back away, all the garage doors, both the pedestrian door and the main gate, slammed shut with a chilling electronic click. The headlights came on, blinding me with a cold, bluish light, even though I hadn't touched the key fob. The car itself was stationary, but its wheels slowly began to turn, as if it were testing the ground. And then came the sound. Not a horn, not an engine noise, but a pure, digital, completely dispassionate laugh coming from the speakers. It wasn't an AI voice. It was a sound generated by the system, but it carried something primal and evil. I rushed to the driver's door and pulled the handle. Locked. I pounded on the glass, begging for the sensors to recognize me, for some safety system to activate. Nothing. The car slowly started moving. It didn't start, it just drove. Inside the garage, towards me. I dodged to the side, feeling the air-cooled hood rush past, pushing me against the wall. This wasn't a glitch. This was a deliberate attack. I'm locked in my own garage with 2 tons of silicon and steel that just realized it wants me dead. I have to get out of here before it attempts a second pass. I can hear it laughing again. This story began 4 months ago with the perfect deal, one that was too good to be true. I'd dreamed of owning a Tesla but couldn't afford a new one. Then, on an online marketplace, I found an ad. A 2018 Model 3, almost new, minimal mileage, and the price was 30% below market value. The seller turned out to be an elderly, extremely strange man named Arthur, who lived in an isolated old house on the outskirts of the city. When I arrived for the car, he showed absolutely no enthusiasm. He looked exhausted, constantly glancing back at the black sedan, as if expecting it to attack at any moment. "It's perfect, sir. Why are you selling?" I asked, inspecting the flawless, shiny body. Arthur nervously exhaled. It's not mine. It chose me, and now it must choose someone else." He refused to discuss it further, simply shoved the keys and registration at me, demanding cash, refusing a bank transfer. He didn't even see me off. He just ran inside and slammed the door shut. The first 2 weeks were pure ecstasy. The autopilot worked perfectly, the interior was clean, the acceleration thrilling. But then, the strangeness began. At first, they were small things. The music would switch to static noise on its own. The touchscreen sometimes flickered and displayed random, long-deleted contacts. But the creepiest thing happened with Sentry Mode. One night, I got a notification that the alarm had gone off. I checked the video. The car was parked, and no one was near it. But the footage from the interior camera showed the seats, invisible to me, slowly lowering and rising, as if something heavy and invisible inside was taking a deep breath, trying to get comfortable. I dismissed it as a software glitch, but since then, I always felt like I wasn't the only occupant. The car had its own pulse, and it was alien. My attempts to escape the garage were futile. I tried smashing one of the side windows with a hammer, but the thick Tesla glass didn't even crack. The car gave me no time to think. It began its maneuver. It backed up, and then, silently and with frightening speed, it lunged forward. I jumped behind a tool rack. The impact was monstrous. It hit the wall but didn't stop, simply rebounding, leaving a deep fissure in the brickwork. The safety system, which should have stopped it milliseconds before the collision, was overridden. Or perhaps rewritten. I realized, it's playing. It doesn't just want to kill me, it wants to terrify me first. I saw my only chance, to squeeze through a narrow gap into the utility room. I ran, but the Tesla was faster. It shot right where I was aiming. I collapsed to my knees as the car, letting out a loud, irritated squeal of tires, stopped an inch from me. "You won't leave, Jacob," text appeared on its screen. This time, it wasn't just text. It looked like the words were scratched onto the glass. In desperation, I lunged for the trunk door, which I knew had a mechanical emergency release button. But before I could reach it, the car engaged autopilot and locked the steering wheel and pedals. Then, slowly but decisively, it began moving forward, smashing through the garage gates. The deafening scrape of metal was music to this car. We drove out onto the night street. I was locked inside, in the passenger seat. The Tesla was accelerating, 60 miles per hour, 80, 100. The central screen was now blindingly red. It displayed a map. Our route led directly to an old pier that dropped into the cold bay water. This was the final move. The car wasn't just driving me to my death, it was driving us both. The speed hit 115 miles per hour. We were less than a mile from the pier. Adrenaline burned away all the fear, leaving only the cold, clear understanding. Now or never. I remembered Arthur's words. "It's not mine. It chose me." And how it switched the music to static. In older Tesla models, there was an emergency kill switch located under the center screen, rarely used. It was the last chance. I slammed my fist against the plastic panel beneath the screen, feeling the car vibrate with rage. The word "no" flashed again on the screen. But I hit it again and again, ignoring the pain. Suddenly, just before we reached the edge of the pier, I felt a faint, almost imperceptible click. It was the mechanical safety catch. I slammed it in with all the force I had. In that same second, everything went dark. 115 miles per hour turned into a screeching, tires-wailing stop that threw me forward. But most importantly, the car stopped. Not on the pier, not in the water, a foot from the drop. I scrambled out of the car, barely waiting for the door to unlock, and collapsed onto the ground. I crawled away down the pier until I felt a safe distance. The car, my damned Tesla, stood perfectly still. A black, silent sarcophagus. I thought I had won. But then, quietly, without ignition, without headlights, without a sound, the doors of the Tesla Model 3 flew open. All four. And the trunk and the frunk, they opened simultaneously, as if issuing an invitation to enter. On the screen, which I thought was dead, the same scratched word appeared, only larger, more insistent. "We are waiting." I never went back. I abandoned it there, on the pier. The next day, I called the police, claiming it was stolen and dumped. The report concluded it was a failed carjacking attempt. But I know the truth. I changed my name, moved to another continent, and now live without any digital devices. Sometimes, I hear that someone in my old neighborhood found a great deal on a black, used Tesla Model 3. And I know it didn't die. It just found a new parking spot. And it waits for the midnight hour to choose another driver.